Hey guys, so today I have swatches of this slightly mysterious spring pastel collection from China Glaze. So I first heard about these on Instagram from TwiStar, who also has a channel, and she did do a swatch and review of these, so I will link that down below so you guys can check those out. I found these on eBay. I was reading through the comments on her Instagram post. I did look it up. They are available on Sally's Beauty Supply, and they're available on a couple of like random nail polish supply websites as well. I actually found them by Googling the names and not necessarily the collection, because I think it's just the Spring Pastels collection, but it's like not well advertised and kind of confusing. There are 8 polishes here altogether. A couple of the purples and the pinks are actually pretty similar. These are available at Sally's Beauty Supply, which makes me think that it's like those glitters. Remember last summer or a couple summers ago, all these like random glitters showed up at Sally's Beauty Supply, and then later in the year, like December, China Glaze released them as a collection, like Star Hopping collection or something like that. I feel like this whole pastel thing feels very familiar with the Star Hopping collection from China Glaze. So there are 8 polishes here, and I will get into the swatches. So this first polish is called Casual Friday, and this is a light pastel yellow. So here's one coat. This one is a bit sheer on that first coat, but that's pretty normal for a pastel yellow. Formula is a bit runny. It's not the worst I've ever used, but it definitely does have a bit of a runny quality to it. There also is a lot of polish dripping down the stem of the brush as I go, so I keep having to put those little drips of polish back in the bottle so they don't flood the nail. And I don't know if you can see this back here and over here. It's almost like, look at that, it's pulling away from my nail and almost like creating little holes in it, which is super weird. I don't think it did this when I did the swatch pictures. I think I would have remembered this, so I'm not really sure what's going on right now. I just cleaned my nails off with nail polish remover before I started this, so I know there's not anything on my nails. Not really sure what's going on there. So here is 2 coats. So this one is starting to build up. When I did my swatch pictures, it covered pretty well in 3 coats, but I don't think it did this either. And so I'm actually not expecting this one to cover completely in 3 coats because of those spots. I'm really confused about those. So here is 3 coats. And with 3 coats on this one, I can still see just a couple of light spots, which was pretty much what I had with 3 coats when I did my pictures, even though I didn't have those weird parts where the polish was pulling away from the nail. My ring finger actually had the worst spots like that, and they covered it pretty well. There's a bit of a streak, actually that might be the spots. It's a little bit difficult to tell by the 3rd coat. This isn't the worst pastel yellow I've ever used, but it's definitely not the best either. So there is 3 coats of Casual Friday. So the next polish is called Spring Jungle, and this is a light mint green. So here is 1 coat. And this one is also a little bit sheer on that first coat, but being a light pastel color, that's not super unusual. I did see one of those little spots where the polish is pulling away from the nails start to form here on my pointer finger, and I just went back over it again, and it didn't come back. I am still super confused about why that's happening, because I know there's nothing on my nails. I don't do these videos with base coat though, so it might not happen if you have base coat, if there's just something else under the polish other than a bare nail. And the formula on this one is pretty good as well. It's definitely not nearly as runny as the pastel yellow was. So here is 2 coats. This one is building up really well on the 2nd coat. I have a couple of streaks. I think a lot of people could get away with this in 2 coats, but I am going to add a 3rd. I lied. I'm not going to add a 3rd. I just looked at it up close, and those few dark spots that I have, like I had one in here on my pointer finger, and as I got to my pinky finger, as it had dried, it leveled out, and I really can't even find it anymore. So I'm going to call this one good on 2, actually. So there is 2 coats of Spring Jungle. The next polish is called My Sweet Lady, and this is a light baby pink. So here is 1 coat. And this one is also, oh, see what, this is what I mean when I say it drips off the stem of the brush really badly. So let's try this again. This one is a bit sheer on that first coat. It is going to take a couple to build up. The formula on this one is also a little bit runny. It's pretty comparable to the pastel yellow, where you have to be a little bit more careful with it so it doesn't flood the cuticles, and you really have to watch, I don't know if you can see, you really have to watch the stem on the brush because a lot of polish will drip down there as you're painting. So here's 2 coats. This one is building up nicely on the second coat. I'm still on the fence about whether I'm going to do a third, so I'm going to finish this nail and then decide. I have a couple of dark spots, but I'm wondering if they'll level out like they did with the mint color. It kind of doesn't look like they're going to. They're not terrible. I think you would probably be okay with 2 coats if you wanted to, but I am going to add a third to cover those up. So here is 3 coats. And 3 coats does cover completely on this one, and I am being a little picky by adding that third coat in the first place. I just had a couple dark spots, which are actually really hard to see on camera. I'm just looking at the viewfinder right now, but it looks like this color is showing up a bit less pink than it is in person, which is also helping to hide those dark spots that I'm seeing. So there is 3 coats of My Sweet Lady. The next polish is called Are You Orchid-ing Me, and this is a light pastel, like slightly pinky purple. So here's 1 coat. And this one is a little bit sheer on that first coat, not actually as much as I would expect from a light color like this. Formula is a little bit runny, not terrible. The biggest issue are those drips coming down off the stem. So here is 2 coats. This one I'm doing a little bit thicker of a second coat, but it does look like it's covering completely in 2 with no dark spots. And so far these have all dried very shiny as well. So there is 2 coats of Are You Orchid-ing Me. The next polish is called Chalk Me Up, and this is it's a slightly pastel blue. It's actually more saturated than what I would consider a pastel. It's somewhere right between like a brighter sky blue and a pastel blue. So here is 1 coat. This one is pretty sheer, pretty streaky on that first coat. Formula on this one is also pretty comparable to the pastel yellow. It's on the runnier side. Like I said, it's not the worst that I've ever used, but it definitely takes being careful and watching that stem. So here's 2 coats. I wouldn't call this one completely covered in 2 coats. It's definitely going to need a third because I have a few streaks, but I am really surprised at how well it covered in the second coat considering how sheer the first was. Like, really surprised. So here's 3 coats. And this one does cover completely in 3. And aside from that yellow, I haven't had any more issues with the polish separating on my nails. Which one did I do right after that? The light minty green, it started to, but I just went back over that spot as soon as I saw it happening and it didn't happen again. I know I didn't have anything on my nails because I had cleaned them off with polish remover, but I wonder if maybe that yellow had separated a little bit and I didn't shake it up, so when I pulled the brush out, it kind of got like uneven, clear, and then pigment on it. I don't know, it's hard to describe. That's the only thing I can think of. But anyway, there is 2 coats of Chalk Me Up. The next polish is called a Waltz in the Park, and this is a pastel purple. Here it is next to Are You Orchid-ing Me. So you can see they are actually, they're not identical, but they are, and they actually are showing up a lot closer on camera than they are in person. For some reason they both look a little bit gray, but they are pretty close. I think probably too close to be in the same collection. But anyway, a Waltz in the Park here is a little bit more of a true pastel purple, where Are You Orchid-ing Me had a bit of pink to it. So here's 1 coat. This one actually covers pretty well for being a light color. It's a little bit uneven still. It's not super sheer. And the formula is really good on this one as well. Not runny like a lot of the other ones have been. And this one does cover completely in 2. I'm doing a little bit thicker of a second coat, but I'm not even sure that that's necessary. And again, dries pretty shiny, but of course I'm going to recommend top coat anyway. So there is 2 coats of a Waltz in the Park. The next polish is called Belle of A Baller, and this is a little bit brighter of a pink. Here it is next to My Sweet Lady, so you can see there's a huge difference there. So here is 1 coat. This one is a little bit sheer, like sheerer than I would expect for a brighter, more saturated color. I'm actually surprised at some of the colors in this collection because I would expect like the lighter pastel colors to be more sheer, and they weren't all. Some of them covered really well, and then some of these more saturated colors that you would expect to cover really well are a little bit more on the sheer side. It's a little strange. This one is also a teeny tiny bit runny, but not as bad as some of the other ones. So here's 2 coats. So this one actually looks like it's going to cover completely in 2, which is really nice. It was a little apprehensive with how sheer the first coat was, but it builds up fine in the second. Depending on your application, you might have a couple streaks. I feel like I still have a few there, but they're very, very hard to pick out, so I don't think it's worth a third coat. So there is 2 coats of Belle of A Baller. The next polish is called That'll Peach You, and this is a bright, slightly corally orange, but it's mostly just orange. So here is 1 coat. This one is a little bit streaky on that first coat, but not terrible. And this one is also a little bit thin, but again, not terrible. And I think this is actually the first, this is way too bright. This is the first super bright color that I've swatched this season, and I totally forgot to fix my camera. Hopefully that's a little bit better. It makes the outside of it look ugly and dark, but then you can actually see the polish a little bit better. This is why I like doing fall colors more, because I don't have to adjust the camera for all the oranges and the pinks. So here is 2 coats. And I'm actually not super thrilled with the coverage on 2 coats here, so I think I'm going to add a third. We'll see how this one turns out. Yeah, I think I'm going to add a 3rd coat to cover up some streaks, and I did adjust the camera. I always forget to do that the first couple bright colors of the season. So here's 3 coats. And this one does cover completely in 3. I think majority of people will probably be okay with 2. I just had a couple of dark spots. Whoa, I just dropped the brush. I just had a couple of dark spots that I wanted to take care of. I'm actually really lucky I just dropped that on the paper in front of me, because that could have been way worse. So there is 3 coats of That'll Peach You. And in typical me fashion, Chalk Me Up, the light pastel blue is my favorite because I love blue. And I liked this one out of the 8. I don't know why. It's blue, that's probably why. So that is the mysterious China Glaze, I almost called it star hopping, Mysterious China Glaze Spring Pastels collection for 2017. You guys find those anywhere else, or if you have more information than I do on them?
One possibility I see is Basil Thai Bistro in Midland, which averages 3.5 stars and is moderately priced. Do you want that one?
Like I was saying, if you have any more information on these than I do, if you know something about them that I don't know, please let me know, because I'm kind of in the dark. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later. Bye.